Darkness stretched across space. No stars blinked nearby. No voices spoke. The ancient human ark, Eden's Wake, floated in silence, orbiting a dead star that hadn't shone in millions of years. Its once bright hull was now covered in dust and ice. The ship was massive, larger than a city, but it had slept just like the people inside. Deep in its core, a light blinked. The ship's emergency AI, Luma, activated after detecting cosmic shifts nearby. One name lit up on its registry, Mira Solon. The ship decided to wake her. Inside a cryopod, Mira's body stirred. Her chest rose, then fell. Frost melted from her skin. The pod hissed open, releasing a puff of cold steam. She gasped as her eyes snapped open. She coughed hard. Her lungs hurt. Her muscles ached. Everything felt heavy, like gravity was stronger than it should be. She blinked slowly, trying to remember where she was. A soft female voice spoke around her. "Welcome back, Officer Mira Solon. You have been in cryo-sleep for 869,810 years. Mira sat up, her heart pounding. What? What did you say? You are the first human to awaken. System integrity is critical. I am Luma, the ship's AI. Emergency revival protocols triggered your return." Mira tried to stand but stumbled. The floor was freezing under her bare feet. She looked around. Cryopods lined the chamber, all still closed. Inside them, shadows of sleeping people remained. Hundreds, maybe thousands. She was alone. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why now? Solar activity detected. Signal contact with unknown language formats. Probability of intelligent life, 99.7%. Humanity is no longer alone in the galaxy." Mira's mind raced. The last thing she remembered was boarding the Ark. Earth had been dying, oceans rising, skies darkening. Governments and scientists had chosen this desperate mission. A long sleep, a chance to survive far in the future. But she hadn't expected to wake up in the year 870,000 AD. She pulled herself toward a console. The screen flickered with static. After a moment it displayed a simple star map. The Milky Way looked familiar, but there were new markings, strange symbols. Entire regions were labeled in unknown alien scripts. "Are there any human colonies?" she asked. "No human signals detected. No known human settlements remain. You are the last confirmed awakened human." Mira swallowed hard. Her throat felt dry and tight. "Then, humanity is gone. Unknown. Status of other Ark ships offline. You may be the first, not the last." That gave her a little hope. She looked back at the sleeping pods, her friends, her crew. They were still here. Maybe more Arks existed, hidden across the stars. But right now she was alone. Mira opened a storage locker. She pulled on a uniform, stiff from age but still intact. She clipped a translator patch to her ear and checked the toolkit at her side. She had trained for crisis situations, but nothing could have prepared her for this. The ship creaked as systems powered on for the first time in hundreds of thousands of years. Lights flickered overhead. Screens buzzed. The engines were cold but still functional. "Luma, what's the power level?" "Main reactor at 37%. Life support stable. Navigation offline. Communications active. Can you access the alien signals?" "Yes, decoding in progress. Estimated time 3 hours." Mira nodded. She took a deep breath and moved to the observation deck. The view outside was haunting. A dead star loomed below, a collapsed husk of light. Beyond it, distant galaxies shimmered faintly. She pressed her hand against the glass. "We did it," she whispered. "We survived, but we missed everything." Suddenly a screen blinked behind her. Incoming transmission detected. Unknown source. Language incompatible. No known match. Mira turned sharply. Her heart thudded again, this time with something else. Fear, or maybe wonder. They were not alone, and whoever was out there, they had no idea that humanity had just woken up. Mira looked at the cryopods once more. Time to wake the others. The cryo chamber hissed again as more pods began to unlock. Mira stood beside them, her breath visible in the cold air. She kept her hands steady, though her heart raced. She had spent days preparing the ship's systems, repairing basic life support, and decoding fragments of the alien signals. The galaxy was active. Intelligent life thrived, but none of it was human. Now it was time to wake a team. She couldn't face this alone. The first pod opened with a heavy clunk. A man coughed violently, his eyes fluttering open. His dark hair was matted, and his skin pale from centuries in frozen sleep. "Easy," Mira said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You're safe. Breathe slowly." He blinked, trying to focus. "Dee, where am I?" "You're on Eden's wake. You've been asleep for a long time. I'll explain everything." His name was Jalen Rowe, a historian and cultural specialist. Mira chose him for his knowledge of Earth's past and his sharp memory. He was logical, calm, and deeply curious. He would need all of those strengths now. Soon after, two more were awakened. Rix Calder, a former security officer, tall and broad-shouldered, came out swinging. He gasped and reached for a weapon that wasn't there. Mira calmed him before he could punch the cryo wall. "You're okay," she said. "You're with me. There's no danger here. Not yet." Rix was built for action, but he wasn't dumb. Once he got his bearings, he asked only one question. "How long?" "Nearly 870,000 years, Mira replied. He gave a low whistle. "Damn, that's one hell of a nap." The last to wake was Kale Yara, a soft-spoken linguist and communication expert. They took longer to regain their strength, but their mind was sharp, already asking about the signals Mira had found. "I can't translate them," Mira admitted. "They're too complex, maybe evolved languages, entirely new." Kale's eyes lit up with quiet excitement. "Then I'll learn them." The four of them gathered in what used to be the ship's command center. Most screens were broken or flickering. The seats were worn. Dust floated through the stale air. Mira brought up the galaxy map on the main console. "Everything we knew is gone," she said. "Earth, no signal. Human colonies, nothing. As far as we can tell, we're alone." Jalen studied the map. "These markings, they're not from Earth." "No," Mira said. "They're alien empires, dozens of them, and they're active, communicating, trading, fighting. We're thousands of years behind." Kale leaned forward. "Any signs they know we're here?" "Yes," Mira said. "They heard our signal." Jalen's face tightened. "That was risky." "I had to try," she said. "We needed to know what's out there." The room fell silent. Rix crossed his arms. "So what now? Are we rebuilding civilization or hiding under a rock?" Mira looked at each of them. "We start by learning. We listen. We watch. We survive. We find out what happened while we slept. And then we decide." Kale nodded. "I'll work on the transmissions. If they speak, I'll learn how to speak back." Jalen pulled out a data slate. "I'll compare alien behavior to old Earth records. Maybe there are patterns. Maybe they're not so different." Rix cracked his knuckles. "And I'll make sure we're ready if someone comes knocking." Over the next few days, the crew moved like ghosts through the old ship. They reactivated more systems, opened sealed areas, and collected what tools still worked. The ship's AI, Luma, helped them access old Earth records, maps, cultural files, even music and literature. One night, as the ship drifted slowly around the dead star, Mira sat alone in the observation deck. A new signal had arrived. Kale joined her with a data tablet. "It's a reply," they said quietly. "Not a full message, just a pulse, a pattern. Someone heard us. Can you translate it?" Kale shook their head. "Not yet, but it's not Scythe. Not from the major empires. This is someone on the edge. Maybe a trader, maybe someone curious." Mira stared out the window. The stars looked the same, but she knew the galaxy was different now. It had changed without them, moved on, evolved, and now humanity was back. A small, forgotten whisper in a vast and noisy galaxy. She placed her hand on the cold glass again, just like she had on the first day. "They don't know we're awake," she said, "but they will." Far across the galaxy, light years from Eden's wake, in a sector filled with artificial suns and metal cities, a signal was caught by one of the galaxy's most powerful minds, Vec Thuruan, supreme strategist of the Zyrith Dominion. He stood tall and thin, his skin a pale grey shade marked with glowing lines of rank and age. His black robe flowed like liquid as he stepped into the central chamber of the strategic core, where hundreds of signals from across the stars fed into a sphere of pulsing data. A technician, a bird-like alien with blinking eyes, approached nervously. "Supreme Strategist, we detected a signal from the outer grave quadrant. It's old. Very old." Vec raised an eyebrow. "Language? Not one we've seen in this cycle. We had to dig through pre-collapse archives. It matches a dead race. Humans." The word hung in the air like a cold wind. Vec's eyes narrowed. He turned to the sphere and whispered, "Impossible." The technician trembled. "We thought they were extinct. Their last known vessel vanished hundreds of millennia ago. They were dangerous," Vec said flatly. "Adaptive, fast learners, chaotic thinkers. Even back then, they caused disruption across 5 sectors in less than 1,000 years. But they're gone," the technician said, voice shaking. "Not anymore." Vec dismissed the technician and stood alone in the chamber, watching the signal play in a loop, short, simple, unmistakably human. "This is Eden's Wake. Survivors of Earth, request contact." It wasn't a threat, not yet, but Vec saw the threat in what it meant. Humanity had returned from the dead, like a ghost that refused to fade, and now the galaxy would turn its gaze toward them. Some would be curious, some would be afraid, but a few would remember, and that was the danger. Vec moved to a private chamber, its walls lined with star maps and war relics. He opened a secured channel to the Dominion High Command. "Prepare a silent fleet. No beacons, no broadcasts. I want them intercepted and erased before the others hear." Back on Eden's Wake, Mira stood with Kale in the ship's small communication room. The reply signal they'd received kept pulsing, soft and regular. Kale looked up from the screen. "It's a trade code, very old, possibly from an independent ship. I think they're trying to trace our signal's origin. Can we respond?" Mira asked. "Yes, but carefully. We don't want to look desperate or dangerous." Jalen entered the room holding a tablet. "You need to see this," he said. "I found something in the cultural archives." He brought up an image, a symbol, Earth's old united flag. "This was the last signal we sent before entering cryosleep. It's still stored in our broadcast core." Mira stared at the symbol. "Let's send it with our reply." Jalen hesitated. "It might attract attention, the wrong kind. We're already exposed," Mira said. "We either hide and wait to be forgotten again, or show them who we were, who we are." They sent the signal, calm, simple, respectful. Then they waited. 3 days later, another signal arrived. This one was different. It didn't come from the trader's code. It was sharp, cold, and masked. No identity, no location, just a pulsing wave of pressure on their systems. Rix walked into the control deck, frowning. Defensive grid picked up a scan. Short, fast, then gone. "Someone's trying to map us from a distance." "Friendly?" Mira asked. "Doesn't feel like it." Luma's voice cut in over the intercom. "Stealth object approaching at sublight speed. Trajectory locked. Estimated contact in 16 hours. Mira's blood ran cold. What kind of object? No clear ID. No transponder. Possibly military. Xyrath design pattern detected. Kale whispered, "They found us." Mira didn't speak for a moment. Her eyes drifted to the stars outside. "Wake the ship. Full alert. We may not be ready for a war, but we're not going to die in our sleep." They scrambled into action. Rix checked old weapon systems. Half were broken, but a few still worked. Kale scrambled to finish translating the trader's message, hoping to contact them directly. Jalen started locking down the ship's core data. Earth's knowledge was too valuable to risk. As the hours passed, Eden's Wake drifted silently toward the edge of its orbit, waiting for the shadow that approached. Mira stood in the observation deck, wearing her old Earth uniform, scarred with time but still holding shape. She whispered to herself, "They don't want us to wake up. That means they remember us." Far out in the dark, a Xyrath stealth ship slipped closer, silent, cold, and ready to strike. The silent Xyrath vessel crept closer to Eden's Wake, its hull coated with stealth alloys that bent light and masked energy signatures. Inside, rows of sharp-eyed officers sat in a dark command chamber. At the center stood Commander Kor Vesh, a loyal enforcer of Vec Tharuan's will. His orders were simple: find the human Ark and eliminate it without leaving a trace. Back on Eden's Wake, Mira and her team worked quickly. The ship's age showed, many weapons were offline, and shields were weak, but the old systems held a few tricks. "Luma," Mira said, standing at the control terminal, "can we mask our energy signature?" "Negative, full masking not possible, but partial decoy fields can be deployed. That'll have to do." Rix moved across the weapons bay, checking plasma turrets and missile ports. "I've got 2 working cannons and 1 experimental defense drone. The rest is scrap." "It's enough," Mira said. "We just need to survive, not win." Kalu was deep in the comms center, tapping at the translator program. "I've made progress with the trader signal. It's a ship called the Kalos. It belongs to an independent alien, species not listed in our archives. He might be close." Mira turned to Jalen. "Can we boost the signal to reach him faster?" Jalen nodded. "I can reroute power from the main deck, but it'll expose us further." Mira didn't hesitate. "Do it." They had no other choice. Far away aboard the Kalos, a strange alien stood over his console. His insectoid eyes blinked rapidly as he processed the human message. His name was Ferrix, a lone trader and information broker. He lived on the edge of galactic politics and didn't trust empires. He studied the signal. The language was old, clumsy, but honest. It spoke of survival, not conquest. "Humans," he whispered to himself, his voice clicking. "Ancient ghosts, and now awake." His curiosity grew stronger. With a swift motion, he changed course toward Eden's Wake. The Zyrith ship reached firing range. Commander Vesh issued a silent command. The ship's forward cannon hummed to life. The plan was to destroy the Ark with a single focused shot. Quick, clean, no mess. But just before the cannon could fire, Eden's Wake moved. Mira had ordered a sudden engine burn, small, fast, and unexpected. The ship jolted sideways. The Zyrith beam missed by only a few kilometers. "Return fire," Mira shouted. Rix activated the 2 cannons. Bright arcs of plasma shot into the dark. One struck the Zyrith hull. Sparks and debris flew from the enemy vessel, though it remained mostly intact. Kali yelled from the console. "Incoming transmission." "Not from the attacker, it's the trader." Mira ran to the screen. A new face appeared, a tall creature with smooth chitin skin, bright eyes and antennae that twitched with thought. "I am Ferrix. You called for help." Mira answered quickly. "Yes, we're humans, survivors. One of your empires is trying to destroy us." "I know," Ferrix said calmly. "The Zyrith fear disruption. They silence anything unfamiliar, but I don't serve them." He vanished from the screen. Moments later, the Kalos dropped out of warp behind the Zyrith ship and fired a powerful EMP pulse. Electric blue waves slammed into the enemy vessel. Its system sparked and crashed. The lights on the Zyrith ship flickered out. It began to drift. Mira stared in disbelief. Ferrix reappeared on the screen. "You're still learning," he said. "This galaxy isn't what it used to be. You'll need friends." Later, in the quiet of the conference room aboard Eden's Wake, Mira and her team sat across from Ferrix, now docked alongside their ship. Jalen watched him carefully. "Why help us?" Ferrix clicked softly. "Because the galaxy needs a shake. Too long under control, too many rules. The return of humans, that changes things." Kalu spoke next. "The Zyrith will come again." "They will," Ferrix agreed. "But they'll hesitate now. You survived, you made noise. Others will hear. Some will want to help. Others will want to destroy. But no one will ignore you anymore." Mira leaned forward. "Can you help us find the others? Other arcs, other survivors?" Ferrix tilted his head. "Perhaps, but it won't be easy. Your kind is scattered like dust." Mira nodded. "We're ready to start searching." Outside the window, the stars still burned bright. Eden's Wake was damaged, but alive. And now humanity had its first ally in a galaxy that had almost forgotten them. The ship creaked as it moved through the edge of a forgotten star system. Eden's Wake was silent inside, except for the soft hum of repaired engines and the occasional hiss of recycled air. The damage from the Zyrith attack had left scars, but Mira and her team had survived. Now, with Ferrix's help, They searched for something even more important than safety, proof that humanity had once spread far beyond Earth. Jalen had discovered coordinates buried in an ancient ship log, entries made just before cryosleep began. The data was incomplete, corrupted by time, but it pointed to a system labeled Mirror 9. No known records remained of what it had been. Mirror stood at the forward deck, watching the system come into view. The star was small and red, barely glowing. Several lifeless planets circled it, but one caught her eye. It was rocky, with faint traces of atmosphere, and an odd energy reading. "Luma," she said. "What's on that planet?" Surface scans show artificial structures buried under rock and ice. Age estimate, 850,000 years. Rix leaned over the console. "That's almost as old as the Ark itself." Jalen's voice was quiet. "It could be a human outpost, maybe the last one." Mira nodded. "Prepare a landing team." The shuttle touched down on the frozen surface with a deep thud. Ice cracked under the landing gear. The wind howled softly, carrying the scent of dust and metal. Mira, Rix, and Jalen stepped into the cold air in sealed suits. Kale stayed aboard the Ark to keep comms open. The ruins were half buried beneath layers of snow and stone. They found the remains of towers, collapsed domes, and rusted machinery. Symbols on the walls were clearly human, old Earth language, faded but still readable. "This place," Jalen whispered, brushing dust off a nameplate. It was a research station. They called it Sentinel Base. Mira walked deeper into the ruins, following a flickering signal. They reached a large chamber, its doors frozen shut. With Rix's help, they forced them open. Inside, they found a core archive, a massive storage device, still humming faintly with power. "Luma," Mira called. "Can you interface with the archive?" "Yes." Connecting, the archive blinked to life. Images appeared on their suit displays, faces of old researchers, logs of experiments, records of Earth's final days. There were even personal messages, meant for future humans. Rix exhaled slowly. "It's all here. History, memory, proof that we lived." Mira's voice shook. "We have to show this to the galaxy. Let them see who we were. Not myths, not monsters." Jalen uploaded a short video, scenes from Earth, cities, oceans, forests, human faces laughing and crying. He added a message, "To all who see this, we are humans. We came from a world called Earth. We lived, we dreamed, and we are still here." Back aboard Eden's Wake, Kale prepared the broadcast. Ferrix helped amplify it through old trader networks. Within hours, the message had reached dozens of outer systems. The response was mixed. Some alien replies were curious. Others were confused or hostile. One signal, sharp and encrypted, carried a chilling message in translated form. "Silence your voice, or we will do it for you. Zereth Dominion." Mira read the warning calmly. "Too late. The galaxy has heard us now." Luma gave an alert. "Multiple ships entering system. Zereth origin. Estimated arrival in 22 minutes. Rix stood at attention. "They're coming back to finish the job." Mira moved fast. "Evacuate the ruins. Get the archive to the ship. We defend it with everything we've got." The Zereth fleet arrived with precision. Sleek black vessels armed for destruction. Mira's crew braced for impact. The ship's few working weapons powered up. Ferrix moved his own ship into position beside Eden's Wake, 2 against a fleet. Rix muttered, "We've got more than firepower." Mira replied, "We have history, we have truth." Before the Zereth could fire, a third signal entered the system. Another ship dropped from warp, larger, unfamiliar. It broadcast a public channel. "We are the Varn Coalition. We received your message. You are not alone." Mira stared. "Who are they?" Ferrix answered, "Scholars, rebels, some of the few who still questioned the empires." The Varn ship powered its shields and moved between Eden's Wake and the enemy. The Zereth commander demanded surrender. Mira refused. A standoff followed, silent and tense. The Zereth ships circled, but the presence of allies made them hesitate. Attacking now could spark something larger, something public, something they didn't want. Then, without warning, the Zirith ships turned. One by one, they jumped to warp, disappearing into the dark. Mira slumped into her chair, exhausted but unbroken. Jalen stared at the archive drive in his hands. We did it. We made them remember. Kale smiled faintly. Now the real work begins. Outside, the stars glowed brighter than before. Humanity had made its voice heard. The truth had survived. The stars moved slowly across the wide viewports of Eden's wake, painting the control deck in soft silver light. The ship drifted in orbit above the frozen ruins of Sentinel Base. The silence now felt peaceful, not lonely, but full of potential. Humanity was no longer a forgotten whisper in space. They had been seen, heard, and for the first time in nearly 1,000,000 years, acknowledged. Mira stood at the center of the bridge, watching as the last of the data from the ancient archive uploaded into the ship's systems. The recordings from Sentinel Base, the logs, voices, history, were now part of Eden's Wake's legacy. It was a seed, a beginning. We've distributed the archive to 8 neutral networks, Cal said from the communications console. Some systems are responding with interest. A few offered to meet. Others just sent silence. Jalen nodded. That silence means they're watching, they're listening, and that's more than we had before. Rix leaned against the wall, arms crossed. What about the Zirith? We humiliated them. That won't be the end of it. No, Mira agreed. They'll be back. But now we're not just a ghost ship in deep space. Now we have a voice and allies. Firix appeared on the holo display, his insectoid face calm but sharp. You've changed something, he said. The galaxy doesn't shift easily, but it moves when pushed. You've pushed it. Mira faced the display. We want more than just survival. We want to reconnect, rebuild. We want to find the others, other arcs, other survivors. You'll need stronger ships, trade, knowledge, protection, Firix said. Then we build, Mira replied. We learn their languages, we study their systems, and we remind the galaxy who humans really are. He nodded slowly. I will continue to spread your message through the networks that still think freely, and I'll watch the Zirith. They will test your resolve again. We'll be ready. Later, the crew gathered in the central chamber. The atmosphere had changed. There was no fear now, just determination. Jalen displayed the original Earth flag on a screen above them. This was once a symbol of unity. Then we lost it. But now, maybe it can be something again. We start with this ship, Mira said. We clean it, restore what we can. Then we explore. Rick smirked. One rusted deck panel at a time. Cal smiled. It's not about how fast we move. It's that we are moving. They had little, one ship, 4 humans, and a galaxy that had outgrown them. But they also had something stronger, memory, purpose, and a reason to exist. As Eden's Wake moved beyond the cold system of Sentinel Base, a new course was plotted. Their first stop, a trade station in the outer rings, where whispers of human return were already causing a stir. The Zirith Dominion watched in silence. Other empires debated, and some, in secret, reached out with quiet invitations. Humanity was no longer missing. They were few, but they were alive, and the galaxy would never forget them again.